So this will be a demo of a hand levitation induction, and it's really fun, and it demonstrates the unconscious mind working in a very fun way, and yeah, it's just generally really fun to do. So I've said fun 3 times. I think it must be fun. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
I think it's
a
fun.
little nervous.
Yeah, a little bit.
How fun are we talking here? Very fun. No, it's. I mean, it's similar in a way. You're going to get the same result as usual. So just notice how you're sitting on the chair, how it feels. How's your temperature? Are you feeling warm enough and all that? Groovy. So you can notice your hands, and one hand can be heavier and the other lighter. Which one would you say is the lighter hand?
Left hand. No, sorry, right hand.
Right hand. Bless you.
Sorry.
That left hand can be nice and heavy. Maybe you just want to make it a little bit heavier if you could. It's like there's some gravity pulling it down. Yeah. Like a rock, just still. And that right hand can be a little bit lighter, can't it? And you can just notice how it can feel even lighter, as if you wanted to lift and rise that right hand. And you can notice how your breathing is and how your thoughts are. Curious about what's going to happen. And you know, the more you allow it to happen, the more comfortable it will be, the more enjoyable it will be to notice how that hand can feel lighter and lighter, that right hand can feel lighter and lighter. In a sense that it wants to begin to move with that lightness, as if it wants to lift and rise a little bit. That's it, you can notice the little twitches in those fingers. You can allow them to continue to go with that unconscious mind, allowing that right hand to feel lighter and lighter. That's it. Even more, if you could turn up the volume of the lightness, like pumping helium in there. Or maybe I like tying some balloons to your wrist, some helium balloons. Just notice how it can get even lighter. You don't want to lift and rise, and you can just let it happen in your own time, now or in a moment. That's it. And you know, you can just let it happen in the speed and way it wants to happen. That as that left hand can be so heavy, that right hand can get even lighter. And it's interesting how that contrast can happen. You know, like when you use an old kind of scale, and one side has, you put the weights on and the other side lifts up. You can lift up that right hand. Let's see, there's those helium balloons. I'll tie another one on there. Yeah, that's it. And just allowing yourself to notice how that hand wants to lift and rise. More and more, lighter and lighter, lifting and rising. Like when you notice a feather, how a little breeze just lifts it so effortlessly up into the sky. It can be almost like the opposite of gravity, some force, electromagnetic force that just wants to pull that hand up. And you can just allow it to continue to rise. And it's interesting, isn't it, how that unconscious mind can make it rise. And as you allow it to, you become more connected to that unconscious mind. As the hand can raise even higher. I wonder how high it will get in the next few minutes. That's it. And you can continue to increase that helium. If you could fill your hand with helium, using those old canisters, you can relax your shoulders as your chest relaxes and your stomach and lower back. And lifting and rising that right hand as that left hand feels heavier, and those feet can sink into the ground in the way that they already are. In many ways that right hand can continue to get higher and higher, like a seesaw. That left hand gets heavier, that right hand gets lighter. And continuing to notice that urge to lift it more. That urge, that can be really enjoyable to allow that hand to get a little higher. It can be quite interesting, though. And another helium balloon here. And another helium balloon. Lifting and rising. You can imagine there's like a force field or attractive in between your head and your hand. I just wants to pull the two together. Like there's a force from your head that's sucking your hand towards your head, and you can try to fight it. You can just allow it, and the more you allow it, the easier it becomes. And the more you fight it, the more you can just let go. And allow that force field to increase. And continuing to increase the intensity of that. Noticing how that left hand gets a little heavier as that right hand continues to rise without even thinking about it. You even think about something else like kittens playing, or the flowers that are growing in this area. Allow your mind to wander in many ways, wherever it wants to go. It's interesting how you can sort of relax and be in a trance while your hand is just there, floating there like this. As that force field between the head and the hand increase, your hand can move a little closer to that body, more and more, in every movement. Yeah. You might even want to notice how that force field from that hand also affects that head. Like they're magnetized together, like two magnets, how they can have a real pull towards each other. And you can begin letting go of the day, of the lunch break, of this morning, of the future. Let go of tensions as our hand continues to lift and rise. That's it, that's it. And that force field behind that head, it's like I'm tying a string around your wrist, around your head. And just tying it a little bit. Bring it closer. And closer. Yeah. And in a moment, you can just let go of everything. There you go. And I'm going to count down from 10 to 0, and every number you can allow yourself to go twice as deep or even deeper. In a moment I'm going to count down from 10 to 0. On every number you can allow yourself to go twice as deep or even deeper. And in a moment I'm going to count from 10 to 0. On every number you can allow yourself to go twice as deep or even deeper. 10. Here we can engage the imagination in different ways. Let's imagine you're in a beautiful place in nature. And can you describe that to us?
I start up here.
Here? Where here?
Looking out the window, seeing all the tropical leaves and birds flitting around. Hearing the birds.
And 9. And you can hear the birds, see the birds. Enjoy the sights from the window. It's somewhat different to being in San Cristobal where you were before, to experience this different nature, isn't it? At 8 and 7. What's a particularly nice looking thing that you see out the window that you'd like to explore?
Usually those strange flowers, they're like yellow and red.
Oh, strange flowers.
And they come out to like a point, almost like hummingbird heads or something.
Oh. So you can explore those flowers. You can sort of touch them and smell them and enjoy the beautiful sensory experience of seeing and smelling and hearing the birds and the temperature of the environment at 6, 5. You could even, because it's your imagination, you can go crazy, you could be very, very small. You can shrink yourself down and like dance in the flowers and sit inside the flowers and try hanging out in the flowers. Or you could make the flowers really large and sit inside it if you really wanted to. It really doesn't matter, your imagination can be so vivid and creative, you can kind of do whatever you like. You can make the sky pink or the grass blue at 4. 3. Yeah. And when I reach 0, you can allow your mind to wander wherever it wants to go. And I'll talk with the group and you can understand and take in everything that you need. At 2, playing with those flowers a little bit more. You might even throw a hummingbird in there, just to enjoy that beautiful, tiny bird with its iridescent colours and its lovely little sounds. And 2, 1. And 0. You can just rest in this place. And you can listen to what I'm saying to everybody and take it in a way that's really effortless and easy. So in the beginning, sometimes takes a little bit of time to get this going. Some people go really quickly, where I was just firstly suggesting that one hand is heavier and one hand is lighter, by asking which one was heavier and which one was lighter. And one probably inevitably will be heavier or lighter. And then just playing on that, suggesting that the right hand would lift. And I tried a mixture of direct suggestions, like you can allow that hand to lift or lift and rise. And then I use some metaphors like tying helium balloons, or like the tractor being between her head. You might find some people's hand actually goes so, like their whole arm lifts and their hands up in the sky. And then I tap her on the forehead, and this is what we call a shock. This is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that we do it without asking for permission. Tap her on the forehead, and in that moment, the conscious mind is like, what is going on? And I say, okay, you can let go of all tension. And you'll notice that I use some of the progressive relaxation as part of that as well. But this one is particularly effective because it demonstrates the unconscious mind doing something, and it demonstrates like yielding to that unconscious mind. Because she could have stopped doing it if she wanted to. But of course, we're not here for that. Yeah. Any questions so far?
One question more, noticing that she's very straight and
Yeah.
like she hasn't moved her feet either. Although her feet are not even entirely on the floor,
Yeah.
and she's very like a statue.
No, nothing like a statue.
Except her hand, except her right hand.
How are you feeling, Olivia?
Yeah, like a stone.
Like a stone. What's that like?
Calm.
It's calm. You look very calm. Steady. You look like you've been meditating for hours. You're in a deep state.
Like the trance state, I noticed as well, I mean, I've been experiencing it myself, like her voice is much softer and very light as well.
Yeah. So we'll go, how can we use this trance? What can we, how can you benefit the most from this trance? What would you like to explore right now? Olivia?
The first word that came up was fragile.
Fragile. Can you say a little more about it?
Fragile.
Feeling fragile.
It's hard to find words. It's like I like the feeling of being a steady stone. It's like maybe exploring the opposite of that. I'm not sure.
The opposite of being a steady stone. It sounds like also known as fragile. What is the opposite of a steady stone in metaphorical terms?
You think of a butterfly caught in the wind.
A butterfly caught in the wind. Beautiful. And how would it be like for me to be like a butterfly caught in the wind?
Frustrated.
Frustrating. So it's nice to be calm. So stay calm and steady with this stuff. Good night. And if you could gain something from this exploration, what would you like that to be? If you could gift yourself with something.
Steadiness.
Well, steadiness. Yeah. So you can just get a sense of steadiness now. Your unconscious mind can give you feelings of steadiness. You can even project that steadiness into different situations in your life and exploring how that would be. And I will just continue talking to everybody, including you. As I talk, you can still allow that sense of steadiness to infiltrate and permeate this present moment and the projections into the future that you're presently projecting as being steady. And yeah, just allow those to happen. And they'll happen all by themselves. You don't need to do anything at all. So, now we're going into something solution focused. She said fragile, which I was like, I'm not sure what that means. And then it seems like steadiness is actually where we want to go. It's always good to ask questions, and if you're not sure what it means, then like try to clarify in any way, shape or form. Because we could also, when we're doing the parts work, which will be later, we could look at that fragile part and even communicate with it and give it what it needs and give it attention and give it love. But for now, we'll just go through another solution-focused process. Any questions, actually?
I feel like her breathing is, I don't know, like, I was just noticing it seemed like a little quick versus the very deep, or is that it's about how deep they're breathing, that you can see that it's like deep breaths and not about how often, or?
I can see that it's steady, but you might notice that some people when they sleep, they have quite fast breathing. Some people go deep with their breathing. But it's actually the quality of the breath that's more interesting.
Okay.
It's very kind of steady. I'm sure she's very aware of it right now. Yeah.
It's weird, I feel very far away from like my face. Like everything feels very heavy.
Let's do a fun hypnotic practice. Let's just imagine you're floating above yourself. And you can see yourself sitting on that chair and just looking at Olivia sitting in that chair, and notice how she's breathing and notice how she looks and notice her face and how calm she feels. How does she look?
Very calm.
And then you can like float above Olivia in the future, like float above your timeline and bless situations that you feel need that calm, just like a pixie, just throwing calm pixie dust on calming, steady pixie dust. Can you think of situations in which you'd like to have more calm and steadiness? What kind of situations come to mind?
Deciding where to go next.
Deciding where to go next. You might not know where that is now, but you can just imagine that future Olivia now, imagining now her making a decision with that calm steadiness, following through with that calm steadiness. And even if you don't know what that decision is, you can see how calm and steady that decision can be. In fact, you can find many decisions that are being made with this calm steadiness. Imagining a new decision now, calm and steady. And a new decision, calm and steady. What's happening there?
I was almost like it was interesting because it's almost like the stone cracked.
The stone crack.
Like straight down the middle of my body. I feel like such a stone.
How's that? How is it to have the stone crack in the room?
It doesn't feel bad.
No? Yes. And then things like this that you can't necessarily predict will ever happen. And it's just it is unconscious mind communicating in a way that makes sense to her, even if it doesn't quite make sense. I like to imagine, so this is a future pacing exercise I'm going to just do and then we'll come out of trance. Imagine 1 year from now, and you're talking with a friend, and they're commenting on how calm and steady you seem to make decisions. And you are telling them how you did it. You're reflecting back on the year and all the decisions you made. And just noticing all of those decisions that you made in a calm and steady manner. And how you know you've got the choice to be calm and steady, or to do anything else. And that sound of the rain can bless you with lots of memories of being calm and steady as you look back on the previous year, telling your friend all of the wonderful things that you have done and learned. How you can almost beam that calmness to them, because they want to learn. You can give them a gift. And your unconscious mind can just begin to bless your future and past even. And a calm and steadiness that is useful to you when it is useful to you. And of course it's always good to be dynamic, and you know that all parts of you are welcome, all Olivia's useful in their own regard. But right now you can just play with this calm steadiness in many situations. So the one thing that I wanted to affirm is that I'm sure. I mean, the feelings already is that not one quality is not always appropriate. So it's like there's duality. Sometimes it's good to be a butterfly in the wind. And the future-facing one, this is a really fun one, where they're talking with a friend in the future and reflecting on the past. Or you can have them 1 year from now, you can imagine being calm and steady in the situation, noticing what's around you, where you are, how you stand, speak, breathe. Or even 2 years from now. Just noticing how that quality is manifested in such beautiful ways in your life. Future pacing is really good for having some, or if someone wants to accomplish something, they have a goal, future pacing is really good for just giving them the inspiration to follow that goal and to keep going. Any questions?
So you can really link that exercise of future pacing with more coaching exercises and like where do you want to be in a year, 5 years, and really embody that through the hypnosis, no? A nice combination.
So it could be, you can use hypnotherapy as a coaching tool. In fact, I love using it like that. It's really fun because everyone has goals. And I use it for my goals. Even some of my goals are quite abstract, like I had Olivia practice on me, and I was like, the quality that I wanted to bring up was compassion. So it's quite an abstract concept. But you can still play with it and work with it. Like calmness and steadiness in itself can be quite abstract. But I'm sure it has some concrete ideas to Olivia's unconscious as to how that will be and how that is. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay.
So future pacing, yes, maybe to envision yourself having a conversation with someone in the future, and where are you going with these questions?
Yeah.
And this one is a bit more abstract. Try to take notes.
Okay.
Of what we did here.
Yeah.
But
Which part would you say is more abstract?
the induction.
The induction. Okay.
And then also she just like built it several times. But she did.
What did you do?
Like kind of like that. What does that mean?
I don't know, you did a little job there, Olivia, what was that?
I'm not sure. Because I was following you deeply.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like, like when you're nodding off on the bus. Okay, well, we'll wake you up now. How does that sound? Yeah. How would you like to feel upon waking?
More awake.
More awake. That's very straightforward. We can work with that.
Invigorated.
Invigorated. All right, let's blast some vigor your way. How do you feel to be invigorated?
Inner fire.
Inner fire. It's a burning. Inner burning. You can stoke that fire a little bit now. I'm going to count from 0 to 5. Stoke the fire a little bit more. That vigor can spread all the way through that body. 1. Enlivening, invigorating, awakening. 2. Energizing. Enlivening, yeah. 3. That fire is brighter and brighter. You can, like wiggle. Nice. before, coming into a stretch in whatever way feels super. Yeah! Fireman, open those eyes, shed fire.
Whoa.
How you going?
Wow, I really, like, the body sensations were literally like a stone. Like, I felt so heavy everywhere. My lips even. Whoa.
Would you like to sit back there and then we can discuss that?
Okay.
You can keep filming actually, just
Okay.
because of the wonderful things he does. Yeah, the hand levitation thing. So you mentioned it's quite abstract. The basic thing is to just continuously suggest that the hand will raise and be confident that it will. Because if you're persistent enough, eventually they'll go with it. This is nice to do in a first session with somebody because it just demonstrates the mechanics of hypnotherapy. It demonstrates the mechanics of hypnosis. Because they have some confirmation, they can feel their hand raising, and there's an element to which they have conscious control over it, and they always do, and they're just allowing it to happen. But it happens so slow that, it's just a continuous suggestion. That has an impact. Which is also good to realize for any hypnotherapy thing that you do, if that you repeat a suggestion over and over again, the repetition will eventually sprout.
And fast pace as well, no? Because when you were repeating, sometimes you were going faster.
Yes.
And facing like a few words as well. So do you modulate as well your voice tone and to accentuate certain words, for instance?
Yeah, I think like lifting or rising, and then sometimes I'm just being playful because it makes it lighter, it makes it more fun, and I don't want it to be heavy and serious. I want it to be an enjoyable experience. So sometimes I'm just being playful and kind of a little bit silly. But that's my style because I'm a playful and silly personality, and it kind of manifests that way. And also when I'm doing hypnotherapy, I'm like, this is so much fun, I really enjoy this. So it kind of like comes out in the way I'm doing it. So basically you're continuously suggesting that the hand will raise, and then maybe go towards the forehead, that's another, and then tap them on the head, or touch their shoulder, or do something that they don't expect, and then give them a moment to, you plant the suggestion to let go at that point. And it becomes like a relief because they've had their hand up for so long and now they can finally drop it.
I have a question. So here you did it to demonstrate the mechanism of hypnosis, but for which kind of case can we do it, for instance? Like if we have issues, maybe moving hands, or...
I would say you can use this for pretty much anybody. But it is really good for people who are just curious about it, who haven't done it before, who want to kind of understand.
You're mentioning like someone is coming to you,
Yeah.
they choose to have a hypnotherapy, even if, they already believe that it could work because they can, right?
Yeah.
So what could be a reason why we will be using that on them?
Well, one reason you might choose to do it is if you get a sense that they think it won't work for them. And some people come
And of course they want it to work, but they might doubt that it will. And this can be like somewhat of an affirmation that it does have some effect. Any comments on that, having been in the receiving seat?
I did notice that there was a point where it was like I had to give in to the suggestion.
Yeah.
It's like I could notice my hand a little bit moving on its own, but then it was like almost I had to decide
Yeah.
to start lifting. But once I started lifting, it seemed kind of effortless. But I could still feel the tension in my hand.
Yeah.
And then when you touched my forehead with my hand, that was when I like dropped it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm answering that.
No, that's good.
question.
Yeah. More or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any questions, Olivia?
So when I had like what I was just allowing whatever to bubble up, whatever it was
Yeah.
that was coming to mind first. And then you were kind of just like flowing with the things that were happening.
Yeah.
And is that typical? Like a typical way that kind of induction leads to?
Not necessarily. I
Okay.
think in this instance, because we didn't have a plan of what we were going to do, like we didn't do any information gathering, I didn't ask you where you wanted to go with it, I was
Okay.
just like winging it.
Okay.
But I mean, I might do that sometimes in a session, especially when people have more abstract issues they want to work on,
Okay.
which people do. Like, oh, I want to be more connected with my higher self, or I want to embody more the person I could be, and all of these things that are slightly like multifaceted and abstract. Then maybe I will go through a process a little more fluid and flowy like that.
Okay.
And actually, usually if I have a course of sessions with someone, I will have one session that's like that. Because I see that more as a kind of releasing process.
Okay.
But we'll do some information gathering very soon, so that when we do a session, we have some intention behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said that this method is good for people who, for the first time, are receiving it or are more skeptical.
Yeah. Or people who think it won't work for them, but they want it to work. It gives some kind of confirmation that something's happening. And also it's kind of fun, it makes it kind of playful, and I like that. I like the playful kind of inductions. Yeah.
What about if your client doesn't like playfulness?
Well,
And it's like very serious and believe that they cannot be playful.
yeah, well, that's an interesting question. I don't know, because I'm generally quite playful and it seems to work okay. Nobody's ever seemed put out by it. I don't know, maybe I do naturally get more serious with people who are quite serious. I mean, like, I wouldn't be playful if someone was like really coming to me with something quite heavy and deep. Or maybe I would. Sometimes it's good to make light of it because it helps them to make light of it. As long as it's done skillfully, because we don't want to like make fun of anybody. But,
It's case by case, like you sense.
yeah.
It's more like experience.
I have a question about, let's say I'm giving a session to friends, a couple friends, whatever, and like future pacing in a way of like helping the body to become more flexible. Maybe there's like a lot of like, tightness and lack of mobility. Can I suggest to myself as I'm doing it to them, if that makes sense? Like, can that work?
I think you do.
You do.
I think that's what happens. I think every time you have a session with somebody, you have a session on yourself. I really believe this. And I find that people often come to me with the subject that I'm dealing with at that time. And That's really fascinating. And like I'll have 3 clients in 1 week who have the same issue I've been dealing with. And it just so happens that in that week they all have the same thing. And I don't know what that's mysterious. Yeah, very mysterious.
It's like on a nice session, like I felt like I was closing my eyes and going to the virtual like places I was taking her to be able to, you know, so maybe in that you also can,
Yeah.
it like helps. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. You're almost going in. You're going in there with her. It might look different to your conscious mind how you interpret it, but yeah.
What did you say? Sorry, Tabby?
I was just saying when I was saying the visualization of like the ocean and the different things, like I had my eyes closed and I was describing and saying things to you because it was helping me to,
Go there as well.
and that might help as well with suggesting to yourself or working on yourself as well. I'm just thinking because I probably will do this with my friends. We're all training in flexibility, and I'm like, well, if I do it for them, I want to also, you know, like be receiving it simultaneously or suggesting to myself simultaneously.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd be curious to know how it goes, the flexibility, mental flexibility training. Because, yeah.
A lot of it is mental. It's just your nervous system being afraid of like what's going on here. So I feel like it would be super effective.
So like when I did my yoga teacher training, I would like sit and visualize, imagine doing all the sequences and all the things that I learned, because I feel like when doing that, I actually learn just as well. I mean, it's like you can do it so much quicker in your mind's eye, and then it does improve the actual physical manifestation of the practice. I used to do that quite a lot. When I was learning Kung Fu, I'd go through the sequence in my mind and I'd practice it in my mind.
Actually, I think that the brain doesn't make the difference between like an experience that you're living and an experience that you are visualizing.
Yeah.
Like for instance, if you try to feel like seeing something, imagining something, and like it's bringing you happiness, and you really have that sense of happiness.
Yeah, it's true.
So
I know. I think we have this idea that the mind and body is somehow separate, and I think they're very, very much connected. And we can even invoke hormonal responses just through our imagination. Or vice versa, we can release mental stuff by moving our body, and there's a kind of symbiosis or inseparability.